Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Ben, and welcome to part 3 for the Heart Platforming tutorial series. This series is made possible by the people who support me by purchasing my Godot courses. If you're interested in that, there's a link in the description below, or in the comments below. In the last video, we set up our player so that it has a coyote jump, and this gives a grace period after leaving a ledge where we can still jump. This feels a lot better. We're going to make a few other minor tweaks, and then I'm going to introduce custom resources to you so we can have some different, we can play with our character's movement options and test a lot of different ones to get a feel for which ones are best. So we'll start off by coming into our character, and then over here on the snap length, I noticed that when the character goes up this 45 here and then leaves the 45 quickly, if they're moving quickly, they actually enter the air for just like a single frame or two because their speed going up the hill is fast enough that when they reach the top, they kind of launch off the top. And I don't want that. So we're going to set the snap length to 3 pixels. And this should prevent that. This will keep the player snapped to the ground even when they're going fast. And there, it looks like it is doing it now. The way I could tell before is because I could see the jump frame of the player for a split second at the top of that ledge. Okay. Now, another thing that, so let's get into custom resources. So currently we have our player set up with these constants right here. And we could make these export variables. So we'll introduce export variables as well. So I could do @export var. And so instead of doing these as constants, I could make them all export variables like this. And what that does is when we come into our player here, we can see these properties in the editor, which is really nice. It allows us to tweak these values. But what if there's a value that we like, but we want to try some other values, but we don't want to have to try and remember it? This is where custom resources can come in. Now, we've already been using resources. If you look down here, this player.png, if we double click on it, this is actually a resource inside of Godot. It inherits from resource. See right here? It has some properties that come from being a resource. So Godot has nodes and it has scenes, but it also has resources. Let's create a new script, and we're going to call this player movement data. And this script will inherit from resource instead of node. And that's because we're not going to attach it to a node. It's going to be just a resource in the editor. Now we can create it. Now our player has a speed, an acceleration, a friction, a jump velocity, right? So we're going to copy these. Do copy. It's also got a gravity, so let's, well, we won't copy gravity. So we're going to copy these. We'll come down into our player movement data. And up at the top here, we're going to give it a class name. We'll name it player movement data. And I'll tell you what that class name does here in just a second. Now we can paste these export variables, and we'll make them not capital. So this jump velocity. Okay, so now we've created this script that inherits from resource, and we've given it this class name, and it has these variables. So a resource can have different functions, and it can have different variables. So it can have a bunch of different logic. However, it won't have the same things that Node or Node 2D have. So Node is going to have stuff like, if you look at its property, it's going to have enter tree, exit tree, going to have get tree, get node, all of these functions, they're not going to exist on resource because it's not a node. Resource actually comes from object. So where is resource? Can't find it here, but if you look in here, you can see we have resource, and it has its own functions that it will have. So there's a few different functions and signals that it has. So in order to create a resource, we can right click over here in the file system and we can do new resource. And there's going to be a whole bunch of different built-in resources that Godot has. There's a ton of them. But since we gave our player movement data script a class name, we can search for that now. So player movement data, and we can see this now inside of this list because of that class name up here. We can double click on it and we'll call this default movement data. Yeah. Okay, so now we have this default movement data, and you can see that it has those same inspector properties over here. So we can adjust this information on this resource. Let's come into our player, and instead of exporting all of these, what we're going to do instead is export our resource. So we'll do @export var movement underscore data. And we'll set this, and we'll do as player movement data. Can we do that? No, we do the typing like this. We just type it like, okay. So export var movement data, and then we tell Godot that it's of type movement data. Okay, that's important. Now all of this code down here is broken because it's like, where are these variables? I don't know where they are. We'll get to that in a second. If we come to our player here, actually we might not be able to get to it in a second. Yeah, because Godot is not updating the properties because the script has errors in it. So now what we're going to do is instead of saying jump velocity, we'll say movement data.jump velocity like this. And we'll replace that anywhere that we had jump velocity. And then instead of acceleration, we'll do movement data.acceleration. Instead of friction, we'll do movement data.friction. And instead of speed, we'll do movement data.speed. Did we fix it? Yes, we did. Okay. Now up here on our player, you can see we have movement data as a variable, and we can grab our default movement data. We can drop it right here. And we can even edit this movement data still here, the properties of it over here. But just remember that if you edit the data here, it will edit it on here as well, which is what we want. Yeah. So now when we play the game, okay, so we broke it somehow. Oh, it's because I spelled friction wrong. Okay. In fact, real quick, I'm going to make this maximized so that you can see the changes. Up here at the top, we have this. And then down here, we have our changes to wherever it has movement data. You should be able to see it all at once now. Okay, now we'll run. And our character plays exactly the same they did before, right? Well, let's say we like this default movement data, but let's say we want to create a different character movement data. So we can right click over here. We can do new. We can do resource. We have our default player movement data, but let's create a new resource and we'll call this one faster player movement. Faster movement data like this. We come into this new resource and we can make some changes. Say, well, we want this character to accelerate faster at 1,000. We want to give them a faster movement speed of 110. 20, and we'll leave their friction the same. We'll make them jump a little higher too. Minus 350, like this. Okay. Now this is our previous character movement, right? But we can come into our player and we can drag our faster movement data and drop it in here. Now we can test this, and our character moves faster and can jump higher than before. Now we could create a third one, just to really show the difference here. We'll create a third one. We'll call this slow movement data. And we'll make the speed 50, make our acceleration 600, our friction 800, and our jump velocity minus 250. And run the, and then we need to swap it out. So here it is with the faster one, right? This is pretty quick. And then we can come into our player and drag over the slow movement data, drop it right here. And now our character moves much more slowly with this different resource. And these resources could be swapped out during runtime. And we might actually do that in a later video. We'll see. You could also use them for different characters. If you had selectable characters on the screen, you could give them each different movement data based on these different stats. Okay. The last thing I want to do, well, I don't know if this is the last thing, but another thing I want to do is I want to add a gravity scaler. Let's come in here and we'll do export our gravity scale. We'll set this equal to 1.0 by default. Now, if we come over into our player and inside of our player script here, we have our gravity. So when we're applying the gravity, we also want to multiply by movement data.gravity scale. And this will allow us to adjust the scale of gravity. So let's come into our slower moving character and let's set our gravity scale to 0.5. Now we may need to compensate by setting the jump velocity because that's a significant change in our gravity scale. But with the slower movement, now we can still jump high and we fall slower as well. Interesting thing, you can actually swap these out in real time. So if I come down here and I click on my player over here, and I swap, well, we might have to click on the remote tab. The remote tab shows the scene as it's running in your game. We click on the player, then we could come in and we could swap for this faster movement data and drop it. Oh, and it broke. So that's not going to work apparently. We can't swap it out in real time. Or I did it wrong. I don't know. I mean, we can't swap it out in real time in the editor. We can in code. So let's do it in code. Inside of the physics process, we'll say if input.is action just pressed UI accept movement data equals load faster movement data. Okay, so now if we run the game, we're using the arrow keys, we're moving around really slowly. The second we press the space bar, we get the faster movement data, right? It swaps to the new type. So it could be a power up too. There's a lot of different applications for something like this. I think the interesting application is testing different movement on your character really quickly and then saving that movement until you find something that you like. You can kind of you could split test it, try two different kinds, see which one people like more, and then do it again until you come up with a movement that feels really good using this different data. Okay, so we set our gravity scale. The other thing I want to do is come into the movement data, and I want to say, so we have our friction, but we should really only apply friction where on the ground. So let's export a new variable called air resistance. And we'll set this equal to 200 as a default. Now when we come into our player, we're applying friction, right? That makes sense. We should do it only when we're on the ground, right? So if we come into apply friction, we should say if input axis is equal to 0 and is on floor. Now our character will only apply friction when they're on the ground, but they also have no air resistance, which if we switch to our faster movement, can be a little bit hard to control. It's not too bad, I guess. But it can feel a little bit weird to control your jumps because there's no resistance slowing your character down in the air. So we're going to create a new function that's very similar to our apply friction. But we'll call it apply air resistance. Resistance with an A. I think it's an A. Input axis, spelling isn't my strong suit. Delta. If input axis is equal to 0 and not is on floor, so if we're in the air, then velocity dot x equals move toward velocity dot x 0 movement data dot air resistance. I spelled it with an E in the player movement data. We got to fix that. I'm pretty sure it's an A. It's going to be embarrassing if it was an E all along. Air resistance times delta. Now our character let's switch to the faster one. Decelerates really quickly on the ground. And do they even decelerate in the air? It doesn't feel like they are. They should be. Oh, we're not calling it. So we're calling apply friction. We need to call apply air resistance. Input axis, delta. Let's remove where we swap to the different movement data in real time. Come back into our player and just swap to the faster. Well, we'll do the default movement. There we go. So the character slows down in the air much more slowly than they do on the ground. This feels pretty good. But now with these different values, you can easily adjust them. And you can adjust these in real time on a specific thing in the editor. Like let's say I'm playing around and I'm like, this air resistance is too much. Well, let's do something more drastic. This jump height is way too high. We're like, come over here and we'll say -150. We save it. And then we bring up our player again. You can see now they're only jumping that high. And if we close, it's going to save that change that we made. We could reset that change, but that's just going to reset it to this default that we have set in the script. So that's why that value is set that way. It's a default. But that's it. I think this feels pretty good for our character for movement. Adding the air resistance and adding a gravity scalar. I actually think the gravity is a little bit much, so I'm going to put it at 0.8 and then reduce our jump velocity to -250 on the default character movement. And our character falls just a little bit more slowly. I don't have this selected. It has a little bit of choppiness. Windows doesn't prioritize it, the window. That feels really good. Okay, that's going to be it for this lecture. Hopefully you learned something and enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.